This Raw begins with some recaps and rundowns. This episode makes me feel 3 days old again. We are getting another match between the 123 Kid and Razor Ramon. This time it's because they've had some issues in the recent weeks. This will be the fourth time in 3 years that they're doing this match, but somehow back then they managed, and when I say they, I mean Vince McMahon. He knew how to keep it interesting and gives it a reason instead of just a rematch for the sake of filling up TV time. Quick start to the match, both guys trading maneuvers. Dean Douglas again walks out to the entranceway and takes some notes. Then a quick finish comes after a clothesline from Razor Ramon, and not ending to what was supposed to be the final match. The kid, though, gets up and tells the ref that he wants another match right away, again making wrestling the fakest thing, and they don't even try to hide it. The referee says, okay, and another match starts right away. Then they show us that during commercial, Racer again pinned the kid with a power bomb, but supposedly the kid still wasn't leaving, and a third match was started. Racer Ramon again in full control of the situation. He goes for the Racer's edge, but he shows sympathy and just rolls up the kid for the third straight time on one night. But after the match, Racer smacks the kid almost to knock some sense into him. They seem to be friends again, but the kid rolls him up and the stupid referee counts the pinfall, but Racer kicks out. But it was just a joke as the kid laughs it off and Racer laughs, and we all live happily ever after. I didn't understand the convoluted booking here. They could have made this like a 2 out of 3 falls match and they could have gotten the same story across, except instead of making the kid, no pun intended here, they wouldn't have made him look like a complete child here. They could give him the first fall with a DQ, a count out, or a quick roll up. I don't really get why they have to make wrestling matches this meaningless, because when you do stuff like this, it makes wins and losses meaningless, which also makes winners mean nothing. So at the end of the day, even though Racer Ramon won 3 matches, technically, he looked like a complete idiot for being a part of this ridiculous segment. That's just my 2 cents. Let me know if you like these types of matches, these type of segments. Next up, we have Hunter Hearst Helmsley looking to keep his Raw winning streak alive, but he's taking on another wrestler with a streak of his own, Barry Horowitz. Pretty evenly match up for the start of the match. Barry lands an elbow to Hunter, followed by the Thesz press for a near fall. There were a couple of ladies in the front row who seemed to have a bet going on because one of them was in favor of Barry Horowitz and the other was in favor of Helmsley. And if somebody knows the lady that was in favor of Barry Horowitz, you gotta send her my way. We might be the two biggest Barry Horowitz fans in the world. But as Barry was looking for a back body drop, he got caught in the pedigree, and the lady that was cheering for Hunter started jumping for joy when he won. To be honest, I hope she didn't pay Barry off to throw this match. I don't want to believe it, but what else explains how Barry could have lost to Hunter Hearst Helmsley here? Doesn't make sense, right? But Hunter goes to 5-0 since making his Raw debut, at least on Raw, and is now above and beyond the other nominees for the Dominance Award. We will find out if the award gets named after him at the end of the year. Next up, we have PG-13 making their debut on Monday Night Raw. At first, when I saw them, I thought it was too cool, but no, these guys are two totally different people. Wolfie D and JC Ice. I did watch this match since it was their first match, even though it was a jobber match, just to see what they could do. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not watching another jobber match that these two guys have because it was sloppy. Most of the moves they hit here were not timed properly, but they did get a win with a nice looking tag team finisher. I guess that's the only thing they practiced doing since it was the finish. And now actually they are also nominees for the Dominance Award, standing at 1-0, tied with Bertha Faye, who hasn't had a match in like 5 months on Raw, even though she's the WWF Women's Champion. Next, we get a rematch from the last In Your House pay-per-view, Bret Hart versus Jean-Pierre Lafitte. To be honest with you, like I always am, I didn't really pay attention to their match at the pay-per-view, so I can't tell you if it was good or not. I can't remember the finish and if Bret got the win. Something that I will be keeping an eye out for is now that they have competition with Nitro, guys like Bret Hart and The Undertaker, who were rarely ever on Monday Night Raw. Now in back-to-back weeks, we've seen both of them in singles matches. Looks like they will be giving us more top names on these shows more than ever before. Getting to the middle of the match, after Bret tries to go for a comeback, he gets hit by a nice looking clothesline and also Lafitte hits a move from the top rope for a near fall. Later, Lafitte goes for a leg drop from the top, but Bret gets out of the way, but his comeback gets halted again. They end up going to the outside and Bret gets sent into the ring steps. Talk about putting your body on the line. Bret doesn't half-ass any of these bumps that he takes. Bret does eventually get back in the ring though. He hits his pennant elbow drop from his rope. Momentum changes again. Lafitte hits a rolling senton and then later a back suplex to take Bret down again. Pierre goes to the top one too many times though, and Bret catches him up there and hits a superplex, followed up by the sharpshooter for the win. Pretty good match for Monday Night Raw. Some good back and forth, even though there was no chance Pierre was beating Brett when he's going to Survivor Series to challenge for the WWF belt. During the match, Lawler was behind Lafitte for him to beat Brett, and after the match, they come eye to eye. Lawler stands on the top of the announce table, and Brett comes in and attacks him, but then Isaac Yankem runs out to save Jerry, and we're told that Gorilla Monsoon will be booking a cage match between Bret Hart and Yankem on a later edition of Raw. Bret has to be helped to the back after the attack, so we will see if the cage match finally ends this feud between Jerry and Bret. One can only hope. Then we get some words from Jim Cornette, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker, as there will be a six-man tag match with these guys next week. Well, not Cornette, but his camp. Throughout the show, they were showing us a poll for us to vote on. This was during the O.J. Simpson trial, and the poll was asking if O.J. Simpson was guilty. The results came at the end of the show, and 51% not guilty, and 49% said that he was. Didn't really understand the point of this being on WWF TV, except for the fact to just try to get some wandering eyes when people used to flip through the channels. And this also explains why they introduced Clarence Mason last week as the attorney for Jim Cornette. They had to capitalize on Johnny Cochran, who was O.J. Simpson's lawyer during the trial. So, yeah. So I guess that's why they put it on the show. And I think on WCW they did something similar. I don't think they put up a poll, but they brought up O.J. Simpson's name on Nitro as well. So that does it for Raw. I'm going to be giving this episode a bad grade. Started off with that weird match, or matches, I guess, between the 123 Kid and Razor. Barry versus Hunter was okay, but then PG-13 in a squash match that nobody asked for. Brett versus Pierre was good too, but then it led us to the Lawler and Hart feud continuing. Could go either way here, but I feel there was more bad than good on this episode. So, yeah, with that being said, I'm out. Catch you guys on the next one.